of the 2025 FIA Formula One World Championship, which will, of course, take place at the Suzuka International Racing Course, just to the north of where we are located, out there, obviously in Suzuka in Japan. As you can see on the wonderful calendar, we have a new fashion, obviously, for the new month of April, right? So you've seen, probably the most popular fashion, with the shirt and the polo in March, and now it's coming in. Obviously, we have some long sleeves because, as you do know, it can still get, quite chilly out there in Japan, even at this time of the year, because it's still the beginning of the spring. So we will see exactly what the weather will do, but for sure we are in for a great entertainment. So over here in this race introduction, there are lots of obviously news happening. It is the first time in a season that we have a 1 week break, so obviously we will take a look at what has been happening, and again, especially from Scuderia Ferrari's perspective, why we start the season over here in Japan, because obviously you do know what happened in March in Australia and in China. It was rather unfortunate, but again, a great promise, obviously, especially that sprint win by Lewis Hamilton and some strong showing. I believe we could have won both races, so we will also tell you exactly how it looks like in the Drivers' Championship, in the Constructors' Championship, and what do we need to do to make sure we make it to the top, right? And we can win this Grand Prix winner trophy! So over here, this new series, again, hugely popular. So we have the new fashion, and we hope to kickstart the season with it. Once again, you can see that the accents over here, or the kind of the lines that give it that racing look, right? Look very similar to the shirt, right? So unlike with the polo, maybe there's more fashion coming up in April. So stay tuned for that. And again, feel free to let me know in the comments how you like this fashion. Again, we wish that the HP logo was red, for example. I think then it would look fantastic, maybe even white, right? So, speaking of the race and the circuit, again, it is the circuit that I've also been very, successful at. So, we will also talk about just how well I did over here, even though I have to say it is a challenging circuit. But if you get it right, if you manage to go through every corner in that ideal line, right on the limit with the right setup, it's very satisfying. But again, it is mostly similar to kind of like the go-kart track. It has lots of sections where it's really difficult to overtake because it can be quite tight. It is the old style circuit. It is, of course, the only figure of 8, obviously, which is quite surprising, right? There's no other track that, for example, is designed in this particular way. And yeah, again, we will then see exactly how we can do from the perspective. So over here, driving obviously the Ferrari SF1000T 818 Formula 1 Racing Simulator, we've always been a hugely successful over here, and having that Scuderia Red Retina Ferrari iMac, we will now use it to show you exactly what the track is all about. And again, we are going back from the spring weekend in China. We are going back to obviously over here to the traditional Grand Prix setup of the 3 practice sessions, and then the qualifying, and then the race. So this race introduction will take place right when practice 1 starts, so that you can really enjoy it. So are you ready for it? Okay, so let's take a look over here. Obviously, as Scuderia Ferrari, we will have a new floor because these historic 2 disqualifications, which sadly, I hope they would be overturned. So obviously, when I did, the race reaction, I was really hoping that we would get to keep it because the margins were so fine. But it is confirmed we will have a new floor for Suzuka. So again, we are already making some improvements. Nothing is lost. 22 races to go. 22 races to go, do remember that. And that new floor should ensure that, for example, we never wear that plank again and get below the limit. And yeah, hopefully we should be able to also control the car weight, because these are really as Ferrari describe it, as the engineers describe it, like calibration mistakes. But it is a bit of a silly mistake really to make, and it does cost you a relatively decent finish and decent haul of 18 points. So over here, these are some of the news. Maybe we will also feature some new drivers, but we will get back to that shortly. So here, let's take a look at it, and this beautiful resolution. Again, iMac is such a great product. So let me turn it over here for you, and you can see over here how it looks like the racing track. So yeah, this is Suzuka, right? So only one DRS zone will be there. Obviously stay tuned for during the practice too. We will do the hot lap, so I will introduce it to you. You know, this track has a great significance, especially you know, because obviously I always support Michael Schumacher, as you do know, in my childhood years. And yeah, it is true that you know, we won the title here, right, in 2000 with the Scuderia Ferrari after the heartbreaks of 98, 99. We won again in 2003, but in 2006, you know, the engine expired, right? Right over here, you know, when you go below that particular turn over here, so here is exactly, if you can see the cursor, where Michael Schumacher's engine expired in 2006. Otherwise, he would have been, I do firmly believe, 8-time world champion, because he was leading Alonso and would go on to win the race. So again, stay tuned for that magnificent hot lap, which will show you how to drive it. The lap record holder of 1 minute 30.983, which we, by the way, went already faster. That's why we are the fastest driver, is held by Lewis Hamilton. That's obviously in the race trim. We will see 53 laps, so the race is relatively short. It's funny that it's held over 53 laps, just like, for example, Monza is. And you know, whenever the race is 53 laps, I always win it. So yeah, unless obviously the engine expires like it did with Michael Schumacher. So you can see, okay, how it looks like over here. Again, you know, some beautiful scenery. Again, it's nearby the sea as well. And here we can see our stats. So obviously it's been run since 1976, which probably featured, you know, one of the, you know, most exciting races, but it was actually at the Fuji International Course, which is obviously you know, not Suzuka, right? You know, so it was held at a different track. Basically, you always had, you know, alternating tracks, but mostly held at Suzuka. That was that great decider where sadly Scuderia Ferrari lost the title to James Hunt of McLaren. And maybe it will be a fight between McLaren and Ferrari. Again, obviously, Niki Lauda decided not to continue the race there because of the adverse conditions. So he didn't have a chance to win, but you can see that in total, you know, we racked up 7 victories over here, as well as 7 fastest laps. Obviously, courtesy mostly of Michael Schumacher over here, winning, as you can see over here, 5 times. You know, again, great moments for you know, Michael. It was absolutely fantastic with 10 pole positions, you know, as well. So again, you know, this is one of the teams that, you know, it is we are quite often on pole position. For example, Sebastian Vettel, you know, got it for Ferrari as well, 25 podiums. So this track is kind of on a par with the Australian Albert Park circuit, isn't it? Because you can see that we are again very competitive here. And with regards to me, for example, I would have gotten the pole position every single time. You know, I haven't been beaten in the qualifying session yet. Can you believe it? So yeah, there is a lot to look forward to, and I do believe we have a great chance to win. So these would be our historical statistics. Obviously, recently we haven't you know, done that well over here, but that is definitely going to change. So over here, let's take a look at how the Drivers' Championship look like after obviously these terrible disqualifications. So you have Lando Norris leading for McLaren with 44 points. Second, obviously being there, Max Verstappen 36 points, with George Russell, thanks to his decent finishes, you know, is there with 35. And then if we go down, so we cannot find the Ferrari drivers there easily. So Oscar Piastri 34 points over there, with Andrea Kimi Antonelli with 22. 6 is Alexander Albon with 16 points. Then you have Esteban Ocon with 10 points, 7th place, right? And then we can see Lance Stroll being 8th. Obviously, you know, Ocon got it because of the disqualification. He finished 5th. So he's ahead of Lance Stroll on that comeback. And then 9 and 10, we are propping up the top 10 over here, with Lewis Hamilton scoring 9 points, being 9, ahead of Charles Leclerc, who is scoring 8 points. The other drivers that will be competing against us are Nico Hülkenberg, 6 points. And then we will have Oliver Behrman with 4 points, Yuki Tsunoda 3 points. And here, maybe we will see, you know, exactly what happens to Yuki Tsunoda, because obviously he will line up for Red Bull, as the Racing Bulls will make the change. It does make sense, right? It will be his home race. He has been, you know, with the Red Bulls now in F1 for pretty much, this is his 5th year. So they did give him the promotion because Lawson is just so disastrous in terms of, you know, not having a pace. Being 1 second of Verstappen means that he's well behind, the point scoring finishes, so well behind the Racing Bulls as well. So there will be a direct swap, and we will see what Tsunoda can do in a Red Bull. Many drivers failed. Do you think he can deliver a glory for Japan at his track, finally racing for Red Bull? I think that's a nice touch, because a lot of people felt that he was hard done by. But judging from his F2 performances against, for example, Mick Schumacher, you do know that he wasn't that particularly strong. So we will really see. Then we have Carlos Sainz, 14 now, with 1 point because obviously of the disqualification, and other drivers classified but with no points. 15 Isaac Hadjar, 16 we then have Pierre Gasly, 17 Liam Lawson returning to Racing Bulls much quicker than he would have imagined. Jack Doohan, another rookie, 18, 19 Gabriel Bortoleto, another rookie. Fernando Alonso didn't score any points despite being the most experienced driver in history, because simply his Aston Martin doesn't have reliability, and he slides on the dump surfaces like in Australia. So here, this is how the Constructors Championship then looks like. So you can see over here, McLaren leading with 78 points, established that gap, that stays the same. Second, Mercedes, 57 points, nothing changed there. But now we are not right behind the Red Bull Racing, because you can see 36 points. That's one of the reasons they made the driver change, because obviously they do need both cars to be scoring points. Otherwise, very clearly, and they will not be able, to, pretty much finish higher than third. And for this Williams with 17 points, obviously we are fifth. 17 points, because obviously courtesy of that Albon's 5th place in Australia. So, on the countback, they are actually right behind us, right above us. But, we won the sprint, but, that doesn't count for the countback. So, we are 17, well, we have 17 points, 5th place. Obviously, we should have been right behind the Red Bulls. Again, there's a lot that we have to do to climb up the order. 6th Haas, 14 points. Then you have 7 Aston Martin, 10 points. Kick Sauber 8 with 6 points. And Racing Bulls with a new lineup of Hadjar and Lawson 3 points. Alpine then scoring 0 points. So over here you can clearly see that for us, for both the drivers and the constructors, we cannot actually get to the lead now, as a result, because for drivers there are only 25 points on offer. But definitely what we are aiming at, I would say, is to recover the 5th and 6th place over here. I do believe that's definitely possible, even though it will be difficult to overcome Antonelli. But if we can win in Japan, which is definitely not impossible, and get a 1-2, like we would definitely, be able to get to at least 7, 8, 5th, 6th place, and go behind the leading quartet of Norris, Verstappen, Russell and Piastri, who are really fighting it out for the championship. It will be interesting who will be leading after Japan with regards to over here the team's championship. So obviously we only have 17 points. There are 43 on offer, so we can have 60 points. It would be great if we could still jump Red Bull, but if we can get behind the Red Bull, we would just basically lose one race. Then I think that would be, a result that we could be satisfied with. So stay tuned for that. Again, there are lots of changes. And again, this is the circuit. You will also, of course, see the hot lap and the red hot lap. But we will be running it in the F1 24. But there is another great announcement that just been made, which is for that great iconic edition of the F1 25. So the F1 25 has been announced. Obviously, do watch the trailer. We are very excited about it. We cannot wait to go racing. Oh yay! And especially, Lewis Hamilton will be staring. So it's all red. The game looks great, and I cannot wait. Obviously, the F1 24 season, I'm running it concurrently over here. So definitely stay tuned for round 3 as well. You will be loving it. I absolutely think the F1 24 cars were great. I cannot wait to try to drive the F1 25 cars and to go for the World Championship with Scuderia Ferrari. So, I'm so happy that they announced the edition, and it looks so great in red. It reminds me a lot of the F1 2020, in the 2020 edition, being red, Michael Schumacher edition. Now we kind of have the Lewis Hamilton edition, but it's all Ferrari edition, isn't it? Finally, great colors, and I hope we can get the red helmets as well, because then we will look like the true champions. And with regards to me, so obviously I will be racing the round 3 of the 2024 season, which obviously Japan is the round 4, so we will have to wait for it a little bit, but I can tell you, here in Suzuka, I've gotten 4 pole positions, so absolutely amazing results. You know, always planted it on pole. Had some dominant victories like in 2016. Gotten 3 of them. 3 these great trophies. Could have easily gotten 4 because last year in 2023 I was definitely on it. When I was doing it, so you will see how about in the 2024 edition, but I definitely won the victory because my engine exploded kind of at a very similar place where Michael Schumacher's engine exploded. You know, that's why he's obviously my childhood hero, but a lot of history here, as you can see in Suzuka. So you know, I've also obviously, you know, set up the 3 fastest laps as well. So you know, I'm very competitive over here. Usually it's a one-stop race, right? So we will see what we will run. You know, I hope soft and medium will be the preferred options, but we don't know what the weather will do, right? Again, you know, if it's raining, you obviously have to always be changing, and we will see how the race develops. But yeah, for me, you know, with the 3, what really should have been 4 victories, hardly unbeaten here, racing for Scuderia Ferrari, definitely in terms of the qualifiers with 4 pole positions, and obviously, you know, having 3 fastest laps as well. This is one of my most successful tracks, and I hope it will be for Scuderia Ferrari as well. So I think we mentioned pretty much everything, so stay tuned. There's again a lot of things that have been happening because obviously you know, we had that break, right? So I hope you definitely enjoyed. You know, the race is run over here in the Far East when there is the Children's Day holiday. So you know, to all of the children, you know, follow your dream, you know, go for it, and one day you can be the Scuderia Ferrari driver and win the World Championship. So we cannot wait. And this is the first round also of the triple header. So the first triple header of the season starts in Japan, and at the end of the triple header, I'm sure once we finish Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, we will be leading Drivers and Constructors Championship, right? Let's go! Forza Ferrari! Now you know everything, so let's race! Let's go! Forza Ferrari!